Hey everyone, Christina here, Ginger Mama. Okay, so I had this very significant dream last night. You guys know I share dream downloads. I reflect with spirit, I look them up, all these things. But this one was something that I really been like back and forth about. How do I share? What are you trying to tell me, right? And so let me start by explaining, well, let me start by saying this. The clarification, I asked for clarification, on earth. And then it was interesting because I did not even think about this from the context of AI, but then it popped up, people discussing a recent interview Elon Musk did. And I want to start out there. He talked about digital superintelligence, and he talks about the fact that they've worked with like blind monkeys, and they can then project in images to the system and basically alter them in this way. But the images being sent are through, AI. And anyways, he's saying this is possibility in humans, and it could lead to, various augmentations and potentially augmenting reality. And he goes on later to say, I only watched part of the interview. This is not my normal wheelhouse, right? So this is for those of you that understand those things, or that's your, purpose in that way is to connect or disconnect. But I'm going to get to the dream. Hold on. And by the way, I had seen nothing of this before the dream. I didn't even know what they were trying to piece together. So he goes on to say, Elon Musk says something like, if there's nothing else out there, whether there is or isn't aliens other places, the line that caught my attention was, he said, the tiny candle of human consciousness does not go out. We've got to ensure that. So he's saying all this AI stuff is there, but then simultaneously saying we cannot let this tiny candle of consciousness go out. That's what clicked with me with this dream. Now, here we go. Yeah, 9 of Cups confirming. In the dream, what was happening was there was like all this bad stuff, okay? And everybody was like, we have to basically blow up. And again, this is a dream, guys, but this bad stuff, we have to get rid of it. So they were warning everybody, saying, get out of the way, all this. So everybody was moving to a different location. And not just that, they had tanks of like whales and animals, which I thought was interesting with the monkey stuff, my other confirmation, right? So it's like animals were being moved, people were being moved, a lot of spiritual beings, people were doing all kinds of things, like confessing love, like in the corner, people were making out, other people were like, just like praying, and there's all this going on. And it felt very like a natural kind of humanness, okay, spiritualness. And we're all kind of waiting with this countdown, and everyone's saying, you're going to be safe right here. This is just going to kind of like blow up the bad. And everyone's like, okay, we're going to be safe, right? So the countdown happens, and all of a sudden, everything shrinks. I want you to think of what? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. That's what it reminded me of. And no, I've not seen that movie in ages, okay? But that's what happened. Suddenly, the whales are really tiny, and everything's tiny, and we're all like, what is going on here? And it was like all the natural state, all the goodness was tiny. And the way he said, that tiny candle of consciousness not going out. And everybody's like, what happened to the bad stuff? And nothing had happened. It was just there. And I know you could say like, oh, that's already happening, Christina, and this and that. Sure. But that is also a very dire warning of technology right now. I know we all use technology in various forms, but please be mindful. Please be mindful. Some of you are turning to technology over people. We see people falling in love with ChatGPT or their AI devices, things like this. And it's very, very concerning. And I feel like Spirit was trying to get me to understand that so I could convey that message. So slow down. Some of you are so paralyzed by fear or past trauma. It's like you can't even communicate directly with people. And it's going to affect finances as well, right? That Ace of Pentacles is reversed with that 9 of Cups, right? And I do think some people feel like their heart's in the right place with some of this technology, but Spirit's really asking you with that Ace of Pentacles reversed, is this the right course of action, right? What is the full purpose here? And what is wanting to help humanity, and what is an ego of wanting to prove one's point or prove that something is possible, right? Like, what is the God complex versus the service of the divine and the natural state? And I just feel like the animals were so significant here. Whales are super significant. The whales were orcas in my dream. Orcas are always very spiritual and significant to me. But it was really just wild, and everybody was so stunned, and it was like sad, and it was kind of like, are we protected, or is this really bad? And it didn't, nothing happened. It was like, I came out of that dream. I just know that the really bad stuff was still there, right? Like it had not gone away. And so maybe some of you feel like that you're kind of being like sheltered, but at the same time, I feel like that's representative of like a lot of you with spiritual gifts and things not doing what you need to do, you know, in flow state, and trusting that, or leaning too much on these other possibly manipulated things, you know? Yeah, Page of Swords here with the Wheel of Fortune reversed. Strength is reversed. Page of Cups is reversed. Lacking the courage to maybe share downloads, whether that's online, this and that. Maybe lacking the courage to stand up in your careers or places of employment and talk about the ethical piece to this, right? To really have these deeper discussions, okay? Really, really ask. I am not saying technology or science is bad innately, but we've got to be able to look at what is actually helpful and what is actually harmful. I'm not seeing spiritual cards come out here and that feeling of just kind of like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to just make abundance and not care about that human piece, that natural state we all have with the universe, with the earth, with our intuition, with our bodies, with our own, you know, healing. And yeah, it really struck me. So that's the reading. Maybe reflect on that, sit with that. King of Swords, many of you in logical careers. My right eye, that's so funny. And the other day I was saying eye stuff. Yesterday in the live, if you saw me, I was talking nonstop about this. So be aware here. There's just something in that heart space that needs to come forth, not just logically like, oh, that could fix someone's eyes. Yes, but who and what is sending the vision or the implant, right? Like if you're talking about implementing, which he says in monkeys they're doing, and they can do. If you're saying you can make a blind monkey see, but through an AI system, what are they actually seeing? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, is it that natural state? Like it's we see this all the time online, right? People will alter videos, right? I use a gentle glow filter often on my content, right? But it's like, are we seeing that? And part of the reason I do that, I'm a mother, half the time I'm sweating and all this, and sometimes I don't use filters, guys. But this is my point. I feel like we need to be clear on this. Like, some of you need to be able to sit face to face. You need to be able to feel the energy with somebody. You need to be able to sit in the grass. You need to feel it. Like you cannot just live only through a screen. And some of these bigger questions we really need to think about and consider. And I know you probably already know this. I don't mean to drone on, but this very much seems significant as it gets a little darker here. Yeah, look at that. It's like, are we trying to work in union with God? I think of like real fast, the last analogy I'm going to use is like an ant farm. I look at consciousness as an ant farm. Now, hear me out. What happens is if all of us are ants on the ant farm, we're all in submission to the divine, then we all go do our work and we all go home and we do our little things and we're all like telepathically figuring out, you know, where's home and where do I go for food and this and that, single file line, whatever, right? Whatever you want to talk about. But that's through the divine. If we get to a place where we're trying to supersede that and then become, quote, God on earth, that kind of feeling, I am God. You hear people getting that complex, right? Instead of union with God, source, universe, creator, then we start to trample all over one another and it just gets really messy, right? And then no one succeeds. No one's balanced. And that's why it's so important that we are riding that delicate line and really reflecting, especially if you are in a career with technology or science, okay? I love you. I would love to hear your comments or your takes on this stream download or this whole thing. I'm sure many of you know a lot more about this than I do. This is not something I follow at all unless I see things here and there. I do not use most technology. I use the internet, of course, for work. I see things on TikTok at times, but I do not consume TV. If I do, it's a very short, like, update on the news or something like that. But I don't sit there and just watch that all the time. I don't play video games, things like that. So there is a paradox here with what is reality in our human consciousness and what is being altered to manipulate or control. So that's the download. Maybe reflect.